My brothers and sisters across this great continent, from Cairo to Cape Town, from Dakar to Dar es Salaam, I speak to you today, not as a Kenyan, not as an East African, but as your fellow African. What I'm about to share with you is a story they don't want you to know. It's a story written in the blood of our heroes, hidden in the fine print of contracts that steal our wealth, and revealed in a pattern so clear that once you see it, you can never unsee it. And once you understand it, you cannot remain silent. So, before we begin, let me ask you something that should keep you awake at night. Why is it that a Congolese child sitting on top of $24 trillion worth of minerals, that's $24,000 billion, goes to bed hungry tonight? Why is it that the phone in your pocket made with Congolese cobalt, Ghanaian gold, and South African platinum was designed in California and assembled in China, but not a single smartphone is manufactured in Africa? Why is it that every African leader who truly tried to change this pattern ended up dead within years? And here's the question that should terrify you. Why is a 36-year-old man in Burkina Faso, Ibrahim Traoré, walking right now, today, down the exact same path that got 3 other African heroes assassinated? I am Professor PLO Lumumba, and what I'm about to tell you is not a conspiracy theory. It's a documented pattern. It's the machinery that keeps Africa poor while making others rich. And most importantly, it's the truth that if enough of us understand it, can finally set us free. Are you ready to hear it? Because I warn you, once you know this truth, you cannot pretend you don't. Once you see the pattern, you cannot look away. And this truth comes with responsibility, the responsibility to act. Give me the next 20 minutes. That's all I ask. And I promise you, by the end of this conversation, you will understand exactly who benefits from Africa's poverty, how they maintain it, and what you can do to break this cycle. Let's begin. The 30th of June, 1960, Congo's Independence Day. The Belgian king stands before African leaders, expecting gratitude. One by one, leaders bow and thank their colonial master. Then Patrice Lumumba, 35 years old, stands up and he tells the truth. He speaks of forced labor beatings, humiliation. He declares that Congo's independence is not Belgium's gift, but a victory won through Congolese blood. The room freezes. The king's face turns red. But here's what killed him. Lumumba looked at Congo's vast mineral wealth and said the unforgivable words. These resources belong to the Congolese people. They should benefit Congolese children. 7 months later, he was dead, murdered with CIA and Belgian involvement. His body dissolved in acid, no grave, no shrine, no place for his people to remember. But why Lumumba, specifically Congo, has had brutal dictators since then who died peacefully in their beds? Because your smartphone contains Congolese coltan. Electric cars run on Congolese cobalt, 60% of world supply. If Congo had controlled those resources and charged fair prices instead of pennies, the entire Western economic system would have been shaken. After Lumumba came Mobutu, 32 years of dictatorship, $5 billion stolen people starving. But Mobutu was acceptable because he kept the minerals flowing cheaply. He was their dictator. 1983. Burkina Faso, one of Africa's poorest nations. Thomas Sankara, 33 years old, takes power. He rode a bicycle to work, reduced his salary to $450 a month, banned government Mercedes. But these were symbols. Watch what he accomplished in 4 years. Vaccinated 5 million children in weeks. Increased literacy from 13% to 73%. Achieved food self-sufficiency, ending hunger. Planted 10 million trees against desertification. Banned female genital mutilation. Built a TELUS. Schools and clinics using only local resources. And the most dangerous act, he rejected ALL foreign aid and World Bank loans. He told other African leaders, "He who feeds you controls you. We cannot be beggars with master's degrees." Sankara proved that African self-reliance works. That example was too dangerous. the 15th of October, 1987. His best friend Blaise Compaoré, backed by France, assassinated him. Sankara was 37. His last words, "You can kill me, but you cannot kill my ideas." Compaoré ruled for 27 years, reversing everything, accepting foreign loans. France was satisfied. Under Gaddafi, Libya became Africa's wealthiest nation. Highest GDP per capita, free healthcare, free education, zero external debt, $50,000 for newlyweds gas cheaper than water. But Gaddafi was killed for his vision for Africa, the African gold dinar, a currency backed by gold, allowing African nations to trade oil without US dollars, threatening the petrodollar system that gives America enormous power. The African Monetary Fund, $42 billion for loans without IMF's crushing conditions. United States of Africa. Political unity, making 1.4 billion people a global superpower. For this, NATO bombed Libya for 7 months in 2011. Humanitarian intervention, they called it. British Parliament later found little evidence of claimed atrocities, but Gaddafi was dead, brutally murdered. Hillary Clinton laughed. We came, we saw, he died. Today, Libya has open-air slave markets. But Western oil companies are back. September 2022, Burkina Faso. Captain Ibrahim Traoré, 36, takes power wearing Sankara's red beret. He has expelled French forces, ended exploitative mining contracts, refused French orders, mobilized his people. He speaks Sankara's language. Our resources belong to us. We can defend ourselves. The Western media call him a dictator, a Russian puppet. Meanwhile, economic pressure tightens. Rebel attacks grow bolder, armed with weapons no one can trace. We've seen this pattern before. Lumumba dead at 35, Sankara dead at 37, Gaddafi dead at 69, and now Traoré just 36 marked. But here's the critical difference. History shows us a pattern, yes. But history is not fate. Patterns break when people refuse to play the role they were given. Lumumba died because we didn't know the playbook. Sankara died because we weren't organized. Gaddafi died because we weren't united. But Traoré, whether he lives or dies, depends on US, on whether millions of Africans finally say never again. This time the ending is in OUR hands. Let me show you numbers that will make your blood boil. Every year, approximately $500 billion leaves Africa illegally. Africa receives about $50 billion in foreign aid. Let me visualize this for you. Imagine 2 columns. Aid column, $50 billion. Imagine a building 5 stories tall. Theft column, $500 billion. Imagine a building 50 stories tall, 10 times higher. For every $1 they column, give us in aid, they take $10 through the back door. To put $500 billion in perspective, that's the entire GDP of Sweden and Norway combined. That's enough to build 50 million homes. That's enough to give every African child world-class education and healthcare with money left over. We are not poor. We are being systematically robbed in broad daylight. Now, when I say they, let me be absolutely clear, I'm not talking about ordinary Western citizens. I'm talking about a system of power, corporations, financial institutions, political elites that has no real nationality, only interests. This system exploits workers everywhere. The enemy is not a race. The enemy is a system built on extraction. And here's the painful truth. Many Africans enable this system. The enemy is not only in Paris or Washington. The enemy also sits in air-conditioned offices in our own capitals, signing away our nations for Swiss bank accounts. How they steal it, the mining trick: a company mines $100 million of Malian gold. They sell it to their Luxembourg subsidiary for $10 million. Mali gets taxes on $10 million. The $90 million vanishes into tax havens. Multiply this across thousands of operations over decades. The CFA. Franc right now in 2026, 14 African countries cannot print their own money. France prints it. These nations must deposit 50% of their reserves in French treasury. When they need their own money, they borrow it back with interest. 65 years after independence, the debt-trapped Western banks lend to dictators knowing they'll steal it. Dictator puts $800 million in Swiss accounts. Bank demands the people who never saw the money repay with interest. New loans with structural adjustment destroy local economies. Eternal debt. We spend more on debt payments than healthcare. Trade exploitation. Ivorian farmer sells cocoa for $2,000 ton. European company sells chocolate for $20,000 ton. Farmer gets 10%. This pattern repeats for coffee, cotton, minerals. We export raw materials, cheap, import finished products, expensive. They've refined the process of eliminating nationalist African leaders into 4 predictable steps. Step 1, demonization media. Transforms the leader into a dictator, strongman, destabilizer. Human rights reports appear. The goal, when he's killed, people think good riddance, not that's murder. Step 2, destabilization. Economic sanctions hurt people who then blame their government. Rebel groups appear mysteriously well armed. Notice how attacks in Burkina Faso intensified after Traoré expelled French forces. Step 3, intervention. Humanitarian language, protecting civilians, preventing genocide. But they only intervene where economic interests are threatened. 8,000,000 dead in Rwanda. No intervention until after. Libya threatening the petrodollar. Immediate intervention. Step 4, installation. Remove the nationalist, install someone compliant. After Lumumba, Mobutu, 32 years. After Sankara, Compaoré, 27 years. After Gaddafi, chaos but oil companies back. They're implementing this playbook on Traoré right now. But this time we know it. This time we can stop it. Imagine Congo negotiates better contracts tomorrow, gets $20 per kilo instead of $2, 10 times more. But Congo still can't make batteries, phones, or electric cars. Still dependent on Chinese, American, European technology. And they're developing cobalt-free batteries right now. When they succeed, Congo's cobalt becomes worthless. But imagine Congo trains thousands of engineers, builds battery factories, manufactures electric vehicles, exports finished products, not raw ore. When technology changes, Congolese engineers adapt and innovate. Resource control equals temporary leverage. Technology mastery equals permanent power. The Asian example, Japan, South Korea, and China, all followed the same blueprint. They made STEM education a national priority. They sent their brightest minds abroad, not to stay but to return, and when they came home, they were welcomed with research budgets, innovation hubs, and protected industries. They didn't just import technology, they built it, and they turned engineers into national heroes. The results: Sony, Samsung, Huawei. Not just companies, symbols of sovereignty. What about us? We don't need better gold prices. We need to train African engineers who refine that gold into jewelry right here. That's 10 times the value. We don't need to grow more cocoa. We need African scientists who manufacture world-class chocolate in Ghana, in Nigeria, not Switzerland. 10 times the value. We don't need better oil contracts. We need African engineers building African refineries. That's 5 times the value. And no, we don't need to buy more Chinese phones. We need to design and build African phone brands for African realities with African brilliance. This is what we call the Green Leap, and it's Africa's advantage. We don't have to follow the West's dirty smokestack industrialization. We can leapfrog straight to clean energy and digital transformation. We have the most sunlight on Earth. Why aren't we exporting solar panels? We have Starlink. Why wait to build brick schools when a tablet and satellite internet can teach a child in the deepest Congo? We have AI. Why not use it to create personalized learning in every African language. And we already proved our innovation with mobile money. M-Pesa didn't come from Silicon Valley, it came from Africa. And the West copied us. Just look at Rwanda. After genocide, they didn't sell pity, they bet on technology. Fiber optic cables, coding in schools, local tech hubs. Today they're called the Singapore of Africa. If a small resource-poor Rwanda can do it, why can't a mineral-rich Congo? Why not Nigeria with 200 million mines ready to build? Listen to this carefully. By 2051, 1 in 4 humans will be African. Our median age is 19. Europe's is over 40. This is either our greatest asset or our biggest crisis, depending on what we do. 1 billion educated, skilled young Africans equals unstoppable economic and military force. 1 billion uneducated, unemployed young Africans equals disaster. The world should fear us, but only if we educate and organize this demographic power. The most powerful revolution must happen in our minds first. The colonial mentality that still enslaves us. Let me ask you painful questions. Why do we feel pride when our children speak French fluently, but feel embarrassed when they speak only their mother tongue? Why do we consider wearing a suit in 40-degree heat professional, while traditional African clothing is exotic or for special occasions? Why does an African woman straighten her natural hair with chemicals to look more presentable? Why do we instinctively trust a foreign-made product over an identical African-made product? Why do we send our best students to mediocre European universities instead of strong African universities? This is psychological colonialism, and it's more powerful than military colonialism because we enforce it on ourselves. For centuries, colonialism taught white is beautiful, black is ugly, European is sophisticated, African is primitive, European culture is civilized, African culture is savage. Even after political independence, these ideas remained in our schools, our media, our minds. Brain drain: Africa's best doctors work in London, best engineers in California, best scientists in Geneva. Why? Because they believe greatness can only be achieved abroad. Economic suicide: we prefer foreign products. African money leaves. African businesses fail. African innovation unfunded. Cultural erasure: children learn European history, not African. Speak European languages ashamed of mother tongues. What must change in education? Teach African history first. Learn in mother tongues. Study African scientists. Celebrate African achievement as much as we celebrate Messi or Ronaldo. In commerce, deliberately buy African products. Every purchase is political. Supporting local business builds local economy. In culture, speak your language proudly. Wear African designs. Celebrate African festivals. Consume African movies, music, literature. For parents, teach children their African language. Don't be the family speaking only English, French at home. Teach African history. Show them by buying African, speaking your language in public, believing in Africa's future. Your children will inherit either a colonized mind I must leave or a liberated mind I can build. The choice is in how you raise them. The ultimate truth. When an African child believes they are as capable as anyone, when an African entrepreneur believes their product can compete globally, when an African scientist believes they can make breakthroughs, when an African leader believes they can build greatness without foreign help, that is when Africa will be free. Every day, whether you notice or not, you are making a choice. A choice that either builds Africa or breaks it down. What you buy matters. When you choose an African product, you create jobs here, you keep wealth here. But when you choose a foreign product, you create jobs there. The wealth leaves, the power shifts. That's your choice. What language you speak matters. Speaking your mother tongue preserves a people. Speaking only the colonial language continues a mental occupation that never left. That too is your choice. Where you bank matters. Every dollar in an African bank becomes a seed funding schools, roads, ideas. Every dollar in a foreign bank becomes a fruit you'll never taste. It waters someone else's tree. Your choice. Who you vote for matters. A leader who serves the people may stumble, but he fights for sovereignty. A leader who bows to foreign masters will sell your children's future for a hand of coins. The ballot is your power. Use it. If you're a student, this is your moment. Study STEM. Solve African problems. Go abroad, yes, but come back. We don't need more diplomas, we need more builders. Learn your history. Build bonds across borders. Make Pan-African more than just a word. If you're a professional, your impact back home is 100 times greater. Come back if you can. Mentor the youth. Support local businesses. Invest in African ideas. Corruption ends when accountability begins with you. And if you're a parent, your role is sacred. You shape the future. Teach your children their language, their history, their dignity. Show them Africa through your actions. They will inherit either liberation or colonization, and it depends entirely on what you teach them. The math is brutal. Ghana, with 31 million people negotiating alone against a global corporation, is powerless. But a united Africa 1.4 billion strong, that's a superpower. That's not hope. That's scale. Unity means strategy. It means economic unity. Through AFCFTA, we create a single market. Coordinated trade, shared value chains. No more exporting raw materials, we process everything in Africa. Monetary unity. End the CFA franc. 14 nations dropping it together, too big to punish. Launch a new African currency backed by African gold. Political unity. When one nation is attacked, all respond. A real African Union. A shared foreign policy. One voice on the global stage. And the vision, one African passport. Travel from Cairo to Cape Town visa-free. A high-speed rail linking African capitals. A continental power grid solar from the Sahara lighting up villages in Malawi. African students crossing borders, sharing ideas, building futures. A united confederation built not by dreamers but by doers. Europe did it after centuries of war. Asia is doing it now. So the question is, why not us? What you do matters. Travel across this continent, learn from each other, support African businesses, break the chains of division, and most of all, teach your children that they are African first. The African Union has set its sights on the year 2063 for full transformation. That's 37 years from now. Can we do it? China lifted 800 million people out of poverty in just 40 years. South Korea, once shattered by war, is now one of the richest nations on earth. Singapore had no natural resources, only vision, and became a global financial powerhouse in the same time frame. If they could do it, why not us? The next 4 years, 2026 to 2030, are everything. This is where the story either begins or ends. AFCFTA must become reality. The CFA franc must die. STEM enrollment must double. An African peacekeeping force must rise. 20 countries must grow their own food. Renewable energy must be built at continental scale. 2031 to 2040, we launch our own African currency. Manufacturing becomes 25% of our GDP. African universities rise into the global top 100. High-speed trains connect capitals. Every home has power. Our tech hubs rival Silicon Valley, not copy rival. 2041 to 2050, we become a net exporter of manufactured goods. Healthcare becomes universal. Youth unemployment drops below 10%. An African passport opens borders and the world. And from 2051 to 2063, the dream becomes flesh, a political confederation. Every child with world-class education, Africa leading in global science and technology. Young people no longer fleeing Africa but building their futures right here. This is achievable, but only if we start now. Let's talk about two futures. Future one, the one where we do nothing. It's the year 2063. You are old. Your grandchild sits beside you and asks, "Why is Africa still poor?" And you look down because you remember. You remember when Traoré stood up and how they came for him like they came for Sankara. And how once again silence won. The movement died. The pattern repeated. And your grandchild asks, "Why didn't your generation do something?" What will you say, future two, the one where we act? The year is 2063. Your grandchild smiles and asks, "Tell me about the Great Awakening." And you do. You smile back and say, "It began in 2026. When they came for Traoré, we said, never again. We made the cost too high. He survived. The movement spread. We took control. We stopped selling cocoa, we made chocolate. We stopped exporting gold, we built jewelry. We educated our youth. We harnessed the sun. We united. And we did it." And your grandchild, with eyes full of pride, whispers, "Thank you, grandparent." So, the question is, which future will you choose? Ask yourself 3 questions. 1. Do you believe Africa can be great in your lifetime through your efforts? If no, it won't be. If yes, move to the next question. 2. Are you willing to sacrifice for it? Lower salary to work in Africa. Pay more to support African businesses. Risk safety to challenge injustice. If no, someone else must. If yes, one more question. 3. Will you start today, not tomorrow, not when it's easier, not when the system is fixed? Today, with what you have, where you are. If your answer is yes to all 3, then welcome. You have joined the African Revolution. If we unite, resist, build, believe, your grandchildren will live in an Africa where no child goes hungry despite fertile land, where every child gets world-class education, where hospitals have medicine, where jobs are plentiful, where African products compete globally, where African scientists lead breakthroughs, where young people build futures in Africa. This is achievable. Others did it with less. If we don't, if we stay divided, accept exploitation, don't resist, don't believe, your grandchildren inherit an Africa where nothing changed except exploiters' faces, where poverty persists despite vast resources, where young people still flee in boats. The pattern continues another century. The choice is ours. The time is now. Long live African sovereignty. Long live African dignity. Long live African unity. Long live the African Revolution. May God protect Ibrahim Traoré, not because he is perfect, but because he represents something far greater than one man. He represents the courage to stand up and say without apology that Africa belongs to Africans. Yet, whether he lives or dies does not rest on fate alone. It rests on us. This is not only Traoré's fight. This is our fight. This is not only Burkina Faso's struggle. This is Africa's struggle. This is not just another challenge of today. This is the defining moment of our generation. Remember this truth: a divided Africa is a weak Africa, but a united Africa is a superpower. History is watching. Our ancestors are watching. Our children are watching. They are asking one question. What will you do? Will you scroll past and forget? Or will you let this moment change you? Will you share it, discuss it, organize, and act? The African Revolution is not coming someday in the future. It is here. It is happening now. And whether you like it or not, you are already part of it. The only real question is this: which side of history will you stand on? The side that watched in silence as another hero was destroyed, or the side that finally said never again and meant it? The side that accepted poverty as destiny, or a side that built greatness with its own hands? The side that fled, or the side that stayed and built? Choose now. Choose wisely. Because one day your children will ask what you did during the great awakening of the 2020 seconds, when millions of Africans finally saw the pattern, understood the truth, and decided to break it. What will you tell them? I have shown you the truth. I have revealed the pattern. I have laid out the roadmap. I have asked the questions. Now the rest is up to you. Africa is calling. Will you answer?